Good afternoon. You're listening to WVBN, the world's choice for weekly news. The League of Nations voted to send an international force to Norway to secure the agreed-upon port of Narvik as an international trade hub. However, the United States, which was hoped to provide the bulk of the garrison, declined to send any support. Further proposals were put forward for belligerent nations to provide small-level support, but the only further development was the agreement to create a team to coordinate efforts to sway nations, including the neutral nation of Sweden. Italy seems poised to secure its first major victory in the creation of their Balkan Neutrality Pact, with Mussolini personally visiting Prince Paul of Yugoslavia to begin finalizing the treaty. Germany took notice and made clear that neutrality under Italy in the Balkans was unacceptable. The Regia Marina conducted an operation against despair in the Alboran Sea. A coordinated effort was put together at the last minute, pulling in support from local civilian and French vessels. A force of various Morgana was trapped by the combined vessels and quickly cut down. Afterwards, the damaged ships of the Regia Marina made for port to repair, while a small contingent stayed behind to maintain watch. After their victory in the east, the Regia Marina decided to focus efforts in the western Mediterranean, to both protect Italian interests there as well as escort British coal shipments, as trade in the region was coming under attack from unknown forces. France remained confident enough in their Maginot Line to accept Mischief's offer of assistance with the construction of Jean Bart, who was also finding an audience with French citizens at home. It was believed any attack by Germany could be stopped while the nation continued its efforts. In more tragic news, a squadron of 5 French destroyers was lost after sailing out to retrieve a so-called superweapon, believed to be sought after by Paranoia on the word of PC Bruno. Japan and the Soviet Union scored a major victory this week, finally destroying the Morgana infestation in Sakhalin. The Morganas had been constructing an ever-increasing number of chains in the critical trade lane, and after previous victories were finally driven out. The Soviet Union led the attack, encountering a black-haired cowardice and losing 2 destroyers, before becoming trapped in the region. The vessels were saved by the timely arrival of the Japanese fleet from the north, led in part by the heavy cruiser Ashigara, who personally cut through many Morgana with her swords, and decapitated Cowardice herself. Torpedo screens from the rest of the fleet destroyed many underwater structures. Japanese battleships bombarded any fortifications on the shore, and carriers hunted down any fleeing Morgana. When the fighting was done, not a single Morgana lived to escape. Celebrations were had and a national holiday declared. At home, Japanese officials signed off on the transfer of the previously captured light cruisers Pinghai and Ninghai to the Wang Jingwei regime in northern China. Reports suggest Jingwei's regime was seen in a more positive light in the following days, though international diplomats remained firm that an unconditional surrender of the Kuomintang was unacceptable. In the south, rumors have suggested that Commander Kai, who was sent to map Delusion's maze, has sequestered himself under guard in Formosa while he works on a plan. The United States began a program of increasing economic mobilization to help with the war effort. The Navy began a program to fortify and establish a state-of-the-art research base at Norfolk, Virginia, for the purposes of Morgana research. It did not escape the notice of some that the fortifications also had the potential to be used on the city itself, which was under martial law as civilians were evacuated. The Soviet Union returned from the Battle of Sakhalin 2 destroyers fewer, but awarded many medals to those involved who gave their lives. The rest of the Pacific Fleet awaited the arrival of their 2 new heavy cruisers to tip the scales in their favor. In the east, the Baltic Navy had to contend with both ice and Finnish fortifications as the Red Army attempted to break Finnish defenses. The Navy did what it could to support the advance, but lost 2 destroyers in the conflict. Nevertheless, the Finnish Mannerheim Line was finally broken. In the Black Sea, the Soviets began preparations for dealing with a disease infestation that had not been completely cleared. The Turkish Navy under Yavuz would not last forever, keeping the Morgana at bay. Efforts were begun to coordinate efforts with countries sharing the sea border. In Britain, Pembroke 7 expanded the scope of research in the Seychelles. Rumors of progress in a number of fields have come out of the ship. At home, London declined to change British policies towards India in either direction, believing that current policies were stable during the ongoing Morgana and German wars. Finally, a British destroyer was mysteriously sunk by unknown causes. Germany experienced a wave of military unrest and fighting as the SS and naval infantry came to blows after the revelation that elements within German high command were conspiring with Morganas against Germany. Raids were conducted in Berlin, Danzig, and on Rügen to seize documents held by the SS. Gunfire was seen on the streets, but the naval infantry were successful in their missions. These documents were presented to the Führer himself, who acknowledged the SS's personal occult goals. Even so, the Kriegsmarine as a whole continued to be under scrutiny from their recent failings. Germany also continued to put pressure on Yugoslavia to avoid a declaration of neutrality. A U-boat was lost and interdiction against Allied shipping continued as usual. That's all for this week. Join us again at WVBN as we bring you the latest news from around the world. From all of us here at the studio, stay safe out there.